In addition to being one of old Hollywood's most renowned actresses, Katharine Hepburn has also developed a posthumous reputation for being a forward-thinking sexual libertine. However, her open-minded approach to human sexuality also came with many caveats, leaving a complicated portrait of a woman whose sexual orientation many fans still don't quite understand. Join Factsverse as we attempt to explore why Katharine Hepburn hated nudity but loved 150 different women. Fans of old Hollywood lore are always curious to learn whatever tidbits they can about Hollywood's most iconic actors and actresses from back in the day. Due to social taboos of the time, many old Hollywood stars had to keep their sexual preferences to themselves. Because of this, rumors have persisted about the sexual orientation of many classic stars, including Katharine Hepburn. Katharine has been dead for nearly 2 decades, having passed away in 2003 at age 96. She lived a long and storied life, and much of that life was filled with secrets that didn't come out until she died. One of them is that she seemed to have preferred the romantic company of women over men. This shocking revelation didn't come as much of a surprise to many of her fans, as rumors had always persisted about the actress due to her numerous idiosyncrasies. Katharine Hepburn was born in Hartford, Connecticut on May 12, 1907. At a young age, she was encouraged by her parents to always say what was on her mind, leading her to have an incredibly voracious appetite for learning about and understanding the world around her. Katharine was a more curious child than many of her peers, which led her to develop quite an intimidating intellect at a young age. It was during her years at Bryn Mawr College that she first fell in love with acting. This passion turned into a habit, and Katharine spent the latter half of the 20s making a name for herself on and off Broadway. These theatrical performances led to her securing the role that was her 1932 screen debut, working with noted homosexual director George Cukor on A Bill of Divorcement. Katharine would go on to work with the acclaimed director again, and the role kick-started a Hollywood career that lasted over half a century. Though she spent the last decade of her career with an emphasis on TV roles, she did have one last big-screen performance with her role in 1994's Love Affair. This role proved a perfect goodbye for the esteemed old Hollywood actress, with critics and audiences noting she had lost none of her flair or charm. Over the course of her career, she was nominated for 12 separate Academy Awards, winning 4. From her early days onward, she became known for playing characters who were headstrong and intelligent. During Katharine's early days on the stage, she would often take on the role of men in the productions she was cast in. In 1933, she followed up her work with George Cukor by working with renowned lesbian director Dorothy Arzner on the film Christopher Strong. Katharine later reunited with Cukor for Sylvia Scarlett, a film that featured a controversial same-sex kiss that Katharine shared with another of the film's actresses. While much was made back in the day of Katharine challenging the status quo in her work, it's been revealed that Katharine mimicked much of these behaviors when the cameras weren't rolling. She was known for idiosyncratic behaviors during the earliest days of her career, but these seem incredibly tame in relation to celebrities nowadays and speak more about the morals of the time than to Katharine's own issues. Back in the day, she was an early adopter of pants. This may seem bizarre to audiences now, but women wearing pants wasn't always something deemed acceptable. Actresses were typically seen in fancy dresses, and Katharine instead opted for traditional pants. This made her a bit of a trendsetter, but it also caused some mild controversy with audiences. She was also an odd celebrity who made the conscious decision to stay out of the headlines as much as possible. Many celebrities had secrets they wanted to keep out of the public eye, but most would at least consent to interviews. Katharine chose to stay out of the public's eye as much as possible, causing her to turn down interviews and other press events seemingly sporadically. Of course, it has since been revealed that Katharine perhaps had more to hide than other peers. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Factsverse for more. Further substantiating the rumors of her sexuality was the fact that she was only married once and for a brief period, and she never had any children during her 96 years. Her first and only husband was Ludlow Ogden Smith. The two were married in 1928 and divorced several years later in 1934. After her divorce, she was said to have been romantically involved with various other partners. In addition to taking part in a relationship with Howard Hughes that became popular fodder for the tabloids, she also became involved in a romantic relationship with Spencer Tracy. That lasted until the actor's 1967 death. Katharine became involved with Spencer Tracy in 1941, and they were apparently together in a romantic capacity for 2 decades. However, revelations since her death have called into question the truth about her and Spencer. Perhaps the two were both homosexuals who had entered into a public relationship to hide in plain sight from the tabloids. Spencer died in 1967, and Katharine survived him for several decades before she died in 1996. Many years after her death, a man named Scotty Bowers came forward with shocking stories about interactions that he had taken part in with both Katharine and Spencer during the days they were together. According to Scotty, he worked as a pimp of sorts who would help set homosexual actors and actresses up with discreet partners. Homosexuality was frowned upon back in the days of old Hollywood, and it was rare to find anyone who was willing to be open about their sexual orientation. Apparently, Scotty not only helped set up Katharine on dates with many women, but he also helped set her supposed romantic partner up on dates with other men. Scotty claims he set both Katharine and Spencer up with hundreds of same-sex partners, with Katharine having been set up on dates with over 150 women. Of course, many have questioned Scotty's stories, given the fact that neither Katharine nor Spencer is alive to defend themselves or verify these accounts. But many have substantiated his stories anecdotally, saying he is a man of repute with true old Hollywood connections. And his allegations make a lot of sense given the many idiosyncratic behaviors of both Katharine and Spencer. The reason Scotty didn't come out with the stories he has earlier is that he was waiting until both parties had passed away. It was his job to keep their secrets discreet while they were alive, but now he feels it's also his duty to allow the general public to know the truth about these two iconic old Hollywood stars. Homosexuality may have been taboo back in the day, but the revelation of Katharine and Spencer's sexual orientations nowadays only makes them that much more endearing. Perhaps Scotty feels that sharing their stories will help bring the world towards a place of greater tolerance. Given that Katharine was said to have preferred the romantic companionship of women, one might think this meant she was completely open-minded when it came to sexuality. But this isn't entirely the case. Katharine apparently had very little interest in sex, having only tried it a couple times. Apparently, she just didn't think the act was for her. She was also said to have been a bit of a prude when it came to nudity. She wasn't open to the idea of nudity in her own roles, but she also frowned upon nudity in general. It was said Katharine would storm out of the theater if she saw a nude woman on the screen. When all is said and done, her sexuality was likely more complicated than anyone will truly understand. Now it's time to hear from you. Comment down below to share what your favorite role from Katharine's career is. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.